Yes, hello everyone, Fáilte Rashkity, Cúilín Media. Welcome back for another weekend preview show. This week, we are looking ahead to round 6 of the National Football Leagues. We are also looking ahead to round 4 of the National Camogie Leagues. And we have some isolated action taking place from the LGFA and the National Hurling Leagues as well. Aaron, I suppose there's only one place to start. As two dubs, we have a crunch game coming up this weekend against Armagh. How are we feeling ahead of it, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a massive game, huge game. Obviously, if Dublin win, then they're safe. Armagh relegate officially, so it's a chance to kind of do the business before the Galway game, and then the Galway game we can maybe look towards the championship or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, it's a massive game. Like, it's a weird one. Obviously, Armagh coming in poor results and everything else, and Dublin have maybe turned the corner with the win versus Roscommon. But yeah, that game, a lot of other big games as well. Like Kerry Mayo is obviously going to have huge permutations at the other end. You're looking down Division 2, Division 3, like a lot of big promotion, relegation deciders, and definitely it does feel like this weekend there's going to be the fate decided of a lot of counties. Some teams are going to have promotion wrapped up. Some teams are going to be relegated as well. So it's it's very interesting.
Absolutely. Well, Grand Admiral Dane coming out swinging straight away, saying Armagh by 3. Not holding back. We haven't even got to the game yet. Matthew, direct questions for you here. Peter, obviously heading down to the Rebel County, said heading down Leeside for the Kildare Cork game. First time heading out to Porky Rin was in the park. The last time we played Cork, he says, Matthew, what's the parking like around Porky Rin? Any good shouts for pre and most likely post-match grub and pints?
In terms of parking, Peter, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's probably the worst. That and Páirc Uí Chaoimh are the worst places for parking. Sorry to burst your bubble there. I think you're best just going down the housing estate, or what I could say, actually, the Marina Market in Cork. Go down for some grub there. There's some nice burgers, nice pizzas down there. Few points here and there around. There's a pub near Páirc Uí Rin as well, and near Cork Con Rugby Club. So yeah, I think go towards those. Possibly even for food, if you're to fast food giants, there's a KFC and McDonald's down in Douglas, so you could go down there as well. So yeah, I suppose, yeah, I hope that helps, Peter, but I'm sorry to disappoint you. The parking is not as good as other stadiums. I've been to Tullamore, and I will say, Liam, Tullamore is absolutely brilliant for parking. Absolutely brilliant in terms of seating and things like that. It's one I definitely mean that. Tullamore is probably one of the best stadiums in terms of getting in and out. But Páirc Uí Chaoimh is a brilliant stadium, but I think in terms of parking, something needs to be done about it, and maybe the few people involved and things like that as well. But we'll see.
Yeah, we have comments here from Brendan saying this weekend will be interesting for a few teams who've been playing well but taking losses last round, looking at Cork in particular. Inside Game says, thanks for coming on to the show last night, Aaron. Hope you stick with your predictions. Absolutely. We have a question in directly from Dublin is Great. It says, does anybody know where I can get the Dublin Armagh game? I'm blind and do not speak Irish. Of course, the game is going to be shown live on TG Cahir. I think I would imagine I'll call you Dub because Dublin is Great, obviously, is your handle. But I reckon probably like the radio stations, like a couple of the lads are saying it there. Peter saying I definitely listened to a commentary of a Dubs game on 98 FM before. I'd say all the Dublin radio stations, like FM 104 will definitely touch on it. 98 FM, I'd imagine maybe not near FM, but some of the Dublin radio stations, Spin 103 might do a bit on it, but I'd say they're the ones to go to if you're looking for it. And then, I'd say that'd be the best bet. It's a shame that there's no Sunday Sport equivalent for Saturday that would do live commentary or something like that. Porter here saying, do you need your passport with you going down to Cork? Maybe, I don't know. I've got in and out without being checked at the border though, so all good. And I'm from Dublin, so. But we're going to move on. Liam, how are we feeling heading into the weekend?
Yeah, well, Matthew's saying that our parking is good. At least we're winning something anyway, because it's been a very bad year for us in Ireland and football, for the men's side anyway. But look, I'm glad that the footballers have gotten a bit of a break since the drumming against Derry and then the defeat against Tyrone. It's a tough game this weekend again against Cavan. Look, Cavan have been in no great shape themselves over the last couple of weeks. I know they bet Kildare, but they weren't great against Tyrone, and obviously had that very poor home performance against Louth. So look, if we're ever going to win a game or give ourselves a bit of a chance of staying up, then we have to win this weekend. If not, then it's curtains and we're down to Division 3. But look, we'll still back them 100%, still give our 100% support, because look, at the end of the day, you know, these lads, they're not losing on purpose. They're not, you know, playing badly on purpose. They're trying their absolute best, and we have a sickening injury list at the moment. But look, once the lads give it their absolute best and try and get some bit of performance into them before the championship, then I'll be happy enough. But obviously, it's going to be very tough with Cavan and Meath in the last 2 games. But look, if the crowd gets into Tullamore, then you never know. Maybe if the weather is terrible, it might help us. So we'll wait and see.
Absolutely. Only time will tell. Well, we're going to waste no more time, and we're going to get straight into the game. So we're going to start off with, in my opinion, and I think it's fair to say, the most consequential game in terms of whoever wins and whoever loses. Dublin versus Armagh, Saturday, 7 p.m. in Croke Park, under the lights. Aaron, the situation going into this game is this: Armagh, after 5 games, have 1 win and 4 defeats, but incredibly still have a +3 score difference. That's how competitive they've been in their defeats. Dublin, on the other hand, out of 5 games, 2 wins and 3 defeats, and a completely even score difference. But coming into this game, obviously, our record against Armagh over the past 2 seasons, obviously we lost to them in the championship. The loss in the league a couple of years ago also sticks out. But the reality is, if we lose this game, with Galway facing Monaghan, we'll come to that later, I fancy Galway to win that game. We would then be behind Galway on points, and then we'll obviously be behind Armagh on the head-to-head. So we drop into the relegation zone if we lose this game. If Armagh lose this game, as you said, they're cut adrift. So it doesn't get more big time than this.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. As I was kind of saying at the start as well, like, it's a big chance to kind of settle the score now, get the win, get the 2 points, and then you don't have to worry about the Galway game then, and we'll see what the state of the table's like. But we're not gonna, I think, league final is out of question. So you would have to say that game then is a dead rubber. But look, we've got 2 chances, in my opinion. Armagh do play Kerry on the final day, so I do think if Dublin lose, I actually don't think it's done and dusted, because Armagh are playing Kerry. And look, we could beat Galway. We beat them last season, and Galway, whilst there might still be a chance of relegation for them, I do think they might have a bit of a good score difference, kind of plus this weekend against Monaghan. We'll get onto that. So yeah, it's going to be a huge game. It's going to be very interesting to see how it pans out. Armagh, it's been weird with Armagh. Like I've kind of said it before, I don't think Armagh, like, they've lost 4 games in a row, but I think they've been very unlucky. They've had a lot of very narrow point defeats, a lot of goal chances not going in. Their shooting has been poor, but like defensively, I think they've been all right. In terms of tackling, in terms of turning the ball over, they have been conceding goals, so that is the worry. They conceded a couple of goals against Mayo, a couple of goals against Galway. But from what I've seen in the Mayo game, there definitely was a bit more of an improvement in terms of tackling and everything else. As I said last night to Gary from inside the game, and yeah, make sure to check that channel out when people get a chance. Like, Armagh definitely do have the physicality edge, I think, on Dublin. They're a much stronger team. Like, I remember the game in the round robin in the group stages last year, and they sort of just out-muscled us. They were far too strong, far too physical, and we couldn't cope with it. And even in the league last year, like, they beat us very, very easily in the league last year, albeit it was in the athletic grounds. So it's going to be tough. Be very interesting to see the team. Is Con going to be available? Is Cormac going to be available? I've seen Paddy Andrews said on the football pod that he doesn't think Con Basquel will come back at all this year. So that's obviously going to be a huge blow from a Dublin perspective, if that is true. So yeah, it's going to be a very fascinating game. We're coming in good form, but like I don't think it's outlandish to say that Armagh probably are still the more settled and the better team. But when you look at the form of both teams, I think that's what makes this weekend very interesting.
It certainly is. We have plenty of comments flying in about this game. Grand Admiral Dane here saying Dublin 216, Armagh 24 points, a lifeline for Armagh. Say Dublin have a fair shout of beating Galway on the last day. In fairness, feel as if Armagh will go for the jugular. They need this win very badly. Daniel Daly here with a crazy stat. Dublin haven't beaten Armagh league or championship since 2012. Now, I wouldn't know that one off the bat, but if that's bang on, that is a crazy stat. Peter saying Dubs by 2, and another rant from Giza. Mikey saying Armagh need to win more than Dublin. I fancy Dubs to beat Galway. Gavin saying I just gave Armagh too many chances. They will beat Galway. Mayo, Donegal, but there's just wrong with the style of play. I'm going with Dublin. And Dublin is great, saying Dublin 216, Armagh 21 points. Armagh just cannot get a goal. Brendan also with a good comment says, as an outsider looking in from the outside, I find Dublin weirdly interesting because they still have some of the lads who've been around for ages, but not enough underage talent coming through. I think one of the key things coming in is just how much of an impact, Matthew, will that win over Roscommon have? Because the Monaghan win was one thing, because we were expected to win that very much. But the Roscommon one was one where we were very much going into that game as underdogs based off Roscommon's form coming into the clash. How important is that victory? If Dublin had lost that game, like, would we be goosed in this one?
It's a difficult one to judge because Roscommon, while they have played well and they have top scorers and everything like that, this is what Roscommon kind of do in the league each and every season. They did it last year. They start like a train in Division 2. I'm not sure will Roscommon be the exact same, but they usually start off like a train and then in the final 3 rounds, they dip. Same as the championship, they dip. And I just wonder, has the dip come now for them? And that might be a negative from a Dublin point of view. Look, I think from Armagh's perspective, they have been absolutely incredible without winning games. I think their performances have been decent enough. And when you look at their games in the last few, against Mayo, it was away from home. They were playing against a Mayo team on form. You could easily lose that. They lost that by a point. I wouldn't say that's an exact disaster. I think the want will be there for Armagh more than Dublin this weekend. Genuinely. So could that tip the scales? I'm not sure. Surely with Armagh, I feel that it's the same for Tyrone in Division 2. Something has to click sooner rather than later. They have too much quality in their team for this to fade away. And could it all come together this weekend, especially when they're playing Kerry in the last game? And if a league final is there for Kerry, Jack will take it. He'll snap it. So would Armagh want to take this opportunity while they have it right now and beat Dublin? I think they definitely want to do that. Would the want there be for Dublin? I agree completely with Aaron. I think they're well capable of beating Galway. Galway aren't in great shakes this year. They're not great. And I think Dublin are well capable of beating them. So the want will be there, I think, from an Armagh point of view. And I think Armagh will go ahead and win this game this weekend. The Roscommon and Dublin one, to answer your question, I just don't think it's not conclusive enough. Like, we'll see Roscommon against Donegal this weekend. If they perform well and win that game, potentially even draw that game, we could say, okay, Dublin perform well. But if Roscommon do the usual thing, maybe that results, it was blown out of proportion just a small bit.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you look at it. Like, I mean, because that result was definitely hyped up by the fact that Roscommon had played so well. I think if I was to highlight it at the beginning of the league and, you know, look at the fixtures and say, what games do you think that Dublin are going to win? I would have highlighted, and no disrespect, I would have highlighted the Monaghan and the Roscommon ones as the 2 teams that got promoted. I would have said, I think we should be favourites going into those games. But having seen how good Roscommon looked in the previous 3 games, and even the draw, you throw that in against Kerry, I was not confident going into that game at the Hyde, but I was very pleasantly surprised by the performance. Tom McGahern saying Armagh, Kerry, Galway, Donegal all will win. Gavin saying Dublin won't have the wind in Croke Park like that in the Hyde, you would imagine as well. That's a massive factor as well. We won't be able to just blow ahead of Armagh again. Brendan says Armagh are missing Rian O'Neill, and I think it's as simple as that. But it's a good point, Brendan. But if Dublin are missing Con O'Callaghan, does that cancel each other out almost? It's a really, really interesting one. Liam, what are you thinking for this one? And Matthew's already nailed his colours to the mast, so you'll have to do that next. But what are you thinking for this one?
Yeah, I sort of agree with him to a degree. Like, Armagh probably need this victory a lot more than Dublin do, to be honest with you, because as like Dublin could probably afford, well, not even afford, I know you don't want to go down, but I don't think it'd be as catastrophic to a degree for Dublin to get relegated as it would be for Armagh, considering Armagh are a team that won the All-Ireland 2 years ago. And considering as well, like, I think Armagh have actually played well. I agree with Matthew. I think they've played extremely well in the league campaign. They just haven't won enough games, which is unfortunate from their perspective. I think probably the only game that they looked a small bit flat in was maybe the Donegal game. I didn't think they were particularly great in that game, but they still only lost by 4 points in the end. So, and look, Armagh, we saw what they did against Dublin last year in Croke Park, but like was mentioned there, Rian O'Neill was a big part of the reason why Armagh went and won that game. But yeah, look, it could all depend this weekend on if Dublin have turned a corner or not. Look, they played very well against Roscommon and put up a big scoreline and, conceded very little as well, which was a big improvement. And Brendan would be absolutely delighted with that. But I don't know. It is one of those games, like you said, it is a toss-up for me, to be honest. If Con is missing for Dublin, then I would worry for you, to be honest with you, just because I think he's so central and so he's just a centre figure for your forward line. And, he's capable of just turning a game around on his own, to be honest with you. So I think if Con was missing, I would favour it to Armagh maybe by 3 or 4 points. If Con is there, I might be tempted to go with a draw. I know it's the boring answer, and I know we don't want to go down that route again like we did a few episodes ago. But yeah, I'm going to stick with Armagh for the moment in the thoughts that Con probably might not be playing. But if he is playing, I might favour towards a draw.
I was there for the Dublin Kerry game in Croke Park, and I have to say we were way off the pace. Aaron, you were there. That's in Croke Park. Forget about Kerry's performance. We were way off the pace, and I think Armagh have a similar, not saying better, but a similar basket of talent. Like Oisin Connaughty and Andrew Murnan are fantastic players, and they have been putting up big tallies. They've just been very unfortunate and very unlucky. And I do agree with what Matthew's saying, that surely at some point the penny will drop and they'll get a win. Their second win. It's just the more I'm thinking about it, because we're talking about Armagh will want it more and stuff like that. There's no two ways about it. They have to win this game. They have to win this game. They lose this game, they're as good as down. I know that they're not mathematically down. Like if Monaghan beat Galway, then Armagh can still catch Galway or whatever. But they're gone. Like if they don't get something from this game, I know that they'd have to draw with Dublin or whatever to have a chance still mathematically because of the head-to-head obviously against Galway. But yeah, so their gun is to their head. They have to do it. And we were so flat against Armagh and Croke Park. Like Mikey made a great point there in the comments. He mentioned about how Roscommon were caught kind of flat-footed because they didn't expect Dublin to be so efficient with the 2-pointers. And by the time that they kind of switched on, that we were tuned in to them and accurate with them, we were already very far ahead. I'm going to shade it slightly to Armagh, and that's my heart wants to say Dublin, but so don't call me biased for the rest of the show because I badly want us to win this game, but I just feel like Armagh will probably shade it slightly. I think if you're looking at the performances, I think Armagh, apart from obviously our performance against Roscommon, I think in average Armagh have performed better, hence why they have a better score difference than us, even though they've only 1 win from 5. Aaron, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a clean sweep, to be honest with you. I do think Armagh will win the game as well, to be honest. Look, I think a couple of weeks ago, when a Dublin versus Armagh preview, we all would have said here Armagh would have won the game comfortably, given the fact of how good of a team the Armagh is and given some of Dublin's performances. And I don't think one win for Dublin against, a Roscommon team that was very poor on the day. There's no getting away from it. Look, it was a great win for Dublin. And if Roscommon are at their best there, Dublin might still win the game anyway. But it's still early days, I think, for Gerard Brennan. There's going to be inconsistencies. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be good performances, bad performances. I think it's going to be like that throughout the entirety of the season. And I do think Armagh overall are better. And it's mad. It's like they've still been scoring in and around like the 20s mark every game. Do you know what I mean? Like that's still a very good number. And you look at like Oisin Connaughty in recent games hasn't been at his best. Connor Turbott's been quiet as well. Like at some point those lads are going to click into gear. I'm hoping it's not this weekend, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think Armagh will shade it. I think it's going to be a cracking game. I think it's going to have a real championship feel to it. I think Dublin will give absolutely everything, and I think it'll be neck and neck at different stages. But I think maybe just going down the home stretch, Armagh might just do enough to nick it. So I'll go with a 2-point win for Armagh.
Friend of the show and previous guest on the show, Cúilín the Football Genius, saying Dublin should not be underestimated, but I still fancy Armagh to win by 4 or 5 points. However, I do have a bad feeling about us going down, but got to believe we will survive. Kieran also here saying Armagh by 4 should make for a good match. And Mikey saying Armagh will have a say about both sides of the table, who gets relegated and who reaches the league final. And that's the next bit, because Brendan here saying, as a Kerry man, I'm afraid of going to the Athletic Grounds in the final week if we don't get anything out of Mayo this week. And I think it would be even worse, Brendan, if Armagh do get something out of this week, because then they really will have something to play for going into that final week. And 2 pointers, they only have 10, says Ryan, from this league campaign. You wouldn't think so, but I think the absence of players like Rian O'Neill, Rory Grugan, I think that has really hurt them in that department as well. But yeah, in case you're just joining us, we've gone for a clean sweep with Armagh to win the first game that we've previewed in Division 1 Round 6, and now we're moving on to what effectively, lads, is a league semi-final. Kerry hosting Mayo on Saturday at 4 p.m. in Austin Stack Park. Coming into this game, Mayo have 4 wins out of 5. Of course, their only defeat being away on the road to Donegal. No shame in that. Their score difference is plus 21. As for Kerry, they have 3 wins, 1 draw and 1 defeat, and their score difference is plus 17. So, Kerry Mayo, a rivalry as old as time that needs no introduction. Matthew, what are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, I think the rivalry's kind of died down from a Kerry and Mayo point of view, simply because Mayo haven't reached the levels over the last few years, but they seem to have done so this year. Like Andy Moore has simply changed the way Mayo have approached games. I think they've been absolutely electric this season. They've been on the other side of the coin in terms of 2-pointers. They've been absolutely incredible at those. Jordan Flynn's absolutely flying. Obviously, does Kobe start this game? I'd love Kobe to start, honestly, in Killarney, because imagine Kobe McDonald versus David Clifford. Imagine the viewers for this game if that happened. Like, it'd be just off the charts. But to be fair, like, again, it's who wants the league final more. I don't think it's vital for both to get to the league final. I think if it was more important for any team to get to a league final, I think it's Mayo. I don't think Kerry need a league final at all. Obviously,
I think Jack maybe might want to, because of that omen of him winning the league when he wins in All Ireland. I think he wants back to back. So maybe if he's superstitious, maybe. But like, in terms of development, they don't need a league final. They don't need a league trophy. Let's be honest about it. Look, Kerry are all Ireland champions. They won the league last year. They don't need to prove anything. And as well as that, like, a lot of people would argue, Munster isn't that competitive. Like, Cork are doing well in Division 2, so I think they'll be able to give a game to Kerry this year. So I don't think Kerry will have any problems there. And Cork and Kerry are just destined to meet in the Munster final as well. So I don't think Kerry will have that problem at all. And obviously there's a new All-Ireland system as well. I think Jack would want to focus in more on that rather than getting to a league final. Whereas you look at Mayo and Andy Moore, and for their confidence and for their performances so far in the league, I think they'd want a league final and ultimately to win a league as well. I know Donegal will be a tough bet for anybody on the form they're going at the present moment. But I think in terms of their developments, Mayo need a league final, and to test Donegal all the way in Croke Park. I think because of that reason, I fancy Mayo this weekend to nick it. I know it's in Tralee, or is it Tralee or Killarney or wherever it is. It's Austin Stack Park.
It's Tralee. So yeah, I'd still fancy Mayo to win this game, simply because I think they'd want a league final more than Kerry.
We've comments flying in about these games, and loads of really, really good ones. Peter saying Jacko is definitely superstitious. He wants the treble for the back-to-back clean sweep. Kieran saying, as good as Mayo's league has been this season, it's still hard to overlook Kerry for this weekend. He's saying Kerry by 3 points. Gavin saying, I hate the whole Kobe Clifford thing. RT and the media building it like it's not even granted Kobe's going to play. In defense of Mayo fans feel like the media is building him up. Well, the truth is, Gavin, with this, I understand completely why you'd be frustrated by it, but Kobe, Matthew, a few celebrations. But with Kobe, it's like Kobe McDonald's name is in anything for so, like, the amount of attention that this guy's getting. So the media know that he'll get attention if Kobe McDonald is on the tweet or on the article or on the post or anything like that, because this guy is a star. He's a superstar. And I don't think since David Clifford, I do agree with that. And lads, anyone disagree? Maybe Derek Hanavan, I think. But like, I've not since David Clifford have I seen a player come from the minors with this level of hype about him. I haven't seen. I think Derek Hanavan maybe is a good shout, but it's rare that a player comes through with this much hype and this much. I didn't know it was your birthday, Matthew. Maybe a few late celebrations. Getting a sing-song going. But yeah, we've plenty of really good comments there, guys. Please keep them coming. It really, really helps to add to the show. Grand Admiral Dane saying, I think when push comes to shove, Kerry will click. And once they do, I don't think Mayo can stand a chance against prime Kerry. The reality is, I'm looking at this game, though, and Liam, I'm going, and I don't mean to sound bad, but this is like, for me, I'm like, this is such a prime Mayo game to just look amazing in. Like, over the years, I've seen Mayo look fantastic and like almost show their hand too early. Like, remember when they went down to Kerry in the group stages of the All-Ireland and beat them, and they hadn't beaten, and everyone was like, oh my God, Mayo are going to go win the All-Ireland, and then they went out at the quarterfinal stage. They have a tendency to show their hand a bit too early. And I do believe that Mayo would have wanted to go all in, make a splash, everything like that. There's no better way than to go in and beat Kerry in their own backyard to do that.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I love the media stuff of Kobe versus David Clifford, to be honest. I love seeing these things. Like, I mean, it's not quite Messi versus Ronaldo, but it's still, like, you love that kind of stuff because it builds a bit of excitement to it. Like, at the end of the day, you go to these matches to see the best players. And, like, you even saw the reception that he got when he came on against Armagh. Do you know what I mean? Like, the whole ground was just standing up and applauding him and waiting for this, you know, new, I suppose, god in Mayo to summon onto the pitch. And every time he's come on, he's looked really good. Like, I would love it if he started this weekend and David started. It'd be like watching the All-Ireland final from 2022, Shane Walsh against David Clifford, only this time it's Kobe. Do you know what I mean? And yeah. I mean, just think of the headlines: Clifford versus Kobe. I mean, it writes itself, doesn't it? It's just absolutely marvelous. But in terms of the game itself, yeah, look, I agree with what Matthew's saying. Kerry don't need a league final, but I have a weird feeling Jack O'Connor probably is a small bit superstitious. I have a feeling he is because, like you said, he weirdly wins the All-Ireland after winning the league. And it's a big reason why I said they'd win the All-Ireland last year. I think I just got this feeling that, yeah, they've won the league. They'll go and win the All-Ireland. I had a weird feeling, and I was right in the end. And I've said they'd win the All-Well, I will give that away in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, I don't know. I still feel like Kerry will want to put in a bit of a performance, though, especially at home, because let's not forget, I mean, you can't really look at the Monaghan game, I don't think, to be honest with you. That was just a really poor game of football, especially in the first half. And Mayo weren't up to much. But against Roscommon, they were poor at home. Against Galway, they let it slip. I'd say they'll want to put in a performance at home at some stage. The Cliffords, O'Shea, they'll all want to put on a bit of a master show at some stage. And like I said, it's the type of game Mayo can look like world beaters. It's also the type of game where Mayo could just falter and everything comes back crashing and reality sort of soups in for them. So I don't know. I have a weird feeling that, again, I mean, it's every week. I mean, there's no point saying if he clicks because he will. It's Clifford at the end of the day. But if he gets enough scores for Kerry, but if they can get a larger range of scores as well, like if Shawnee O'Shea can get 4 or 5 points on the board, if Paddy can contribute, if Dylan Gainey can contribute, if Joe O'Connor could even get 3 or 4 points from midfield, then I don't see Mayo beating Kerry, to be honest with you. I think, look, Mayo have been doing very well, but they've also a small bit been fortunate to win some of their games. They only bet Galway by 3 points in the end in that brilliant performance down in Galway. They only bet Armagh by a point. They were average enough against Donegal in the end. So I don't know. I'm going to stick with Kerry to win this weekend. I think home advantage, even though it's not been to their best benefit this season, I think they'll want to have one last good performance in them at home before they start the championship.
Yeah, Gavin saying RT will make a Clifford versus Kobe movie at this stage. I mean, I wonder the viewership that would do, because two of the biggest superstars in the game right now. Joe Duggan saying doesn't agree about it says James Sargent, Derry 2-year minor player of the year. He's up there with Clifford. James Sargent is a great show. He was absolutely fantastic. I just don't think he's broken into the senior team at the same pace and with the same hype that Kobe has. And like David Clifford broke into the Kerry seniors at 18. Like James Sargent is definitely a nailed on starter for Derry over the next 2 years. It's because as well, it's that fact of like Kobe is obviously from the same tree as Kieran MacDonald, and Kieran MacDonald was one of the most electric Gaelic footballers you could ever watch in your life. There's a lot of good shouts, but this is what we want, man. We want superstars. We want your James Sargents. We want your David Clifford. We want your Kobe McDonald. We want your Derek Hanivans. We want these lads in the game tearing it up. That's what we want. And Peter says, and Kobe is a cut of the L lad. Gavin says Conor Glass, actually, now that you mention it, played in that final against Clifford, didn't he? I don't think he did. I think he was gone to the AFL at that stage. Callum Brown was in that final. I think that might be, if you're thinking AFL player, Callum Brown was on the Derry minor team that year. By the way, he'd be huge if he did come back. Callum Brown, I think he'd be like the talent that he was, and he went out to Australia. I think it would be like a Conor McKenna situation again. But Aaron, with an eye on the clock, I'm going to ask you to lead the way with the predictions on this one. Kerry versus Mayo in Austin Stack Park. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'd actually go for Kerry to win this game. To be honest with you, I think the home advantage will be key. I think Kerry as well, playing Armagh on the final day as well. Like, that's especially where Armagh having so much to play for. That's not going to be a given as well. So I think for Kerry, they want to get the 2 points on the board, kind of put a bit of a statement over Mayo, and maybe kind of like derail them a little bit as well, I think. And I do think Kerry will go a little bit stronger. Look, I don't know if Paddy's going to be available. I did hear maybe he could be injured potentially going into this, so that could be a blow. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the Dingle lads come back. I know we've seen Tom O'Sullivan come back, but I think he could see a few of the Gainies here. I think it's a great game to introduce them back in. I think with Mayo, it's interesting, like, and with Kobe, as you said, like, he is, I think Tom was mentioning it there, like, he is playing with the 20s, I believe, potentially. So we might not see him. And I actually think it would be smart for Andy Moran not to play Kobe McDonald, at least not to start him, because I don't think you want to give too much away to a very experienced Kerry defence. Do you know what I mean? They'll get a read on Kobe maybe going into the championship. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think Kerry will win it. I also think as well, Mayo, like, I don't think it's the end of the world if they don't reach a league final. I do think I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe chop and change their team a little bit and switch things around. I think for me, Mayo have had really good league campaigns in the past and then had poor championships. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a bit of the handbrake being applied by Andy Moran and Mayo this weekend. So I'll go with Kerry ever so narrowly by a point.
Some very good predictions coming in here. Dublin is great, saying Mayo 222, Kerry 20 points. Ryan also going for Mayo, says Mayo 119, Kerry 215, Kerry to be 10 up at half time and blow it. Brennan saying gutted we're not using Tomas Kennedy as much as we should. He's a potential top tier player. He looked fantastic, especially in the Roscommon game, and even at the 20s I thought he looked absolutely brilliant. Mikey saying Kerry 220, Mayo 217. Matthew, what are you going with?
Mayo. I'm going to go for Mayo to win the game. I don't think Kerry will take it as seriously as many people believe.
Liam?
Kerry by 7.
I'm going to go with Mayo by 2. I think Mayo just, they know only 2 words, all in. No matter what game, no matter what competition, Mayo are going to go all in. And I think Andy Moran wants to make a splash. And I think they're going to go away and go for the jugular. I think they're going to want to secure their place in a league final. I think they're going to go for the win. So I'm going to go with Mayo to win this game. Now, we're going to move on to the next game in Division 1's round 6. So we've got a split there. 2 of us went for Mayo and 2 at the bottom there went for Kerry. We're going to move on now to Roscommon hosting Donegal in Dr. Hyde Park. This one is on Sunday at 1:30. Liam, what are you expecting from this one? Roscommon, 3 wins out of 5 games. Donegal still unbeaten at the top of the table with 9 points out of a potential 10.
Yeah, but look, Roscommon need a response after the Dublin performance. There's no question about that. As for Donegal, I mean, Donegal, in a way, are sort of just getting themselves to a league final without having to do a whole lot, I think it'd be fair to say. Like, I mean, look, I know they drew against Galway the last day, but I don't think that result will have hurt them as much. And let's be honest as well, they were second best against Galway and they still managed to pull off a draw. So it just shows you the drive that is in this team this year to try and, I suppose, maybe win a national title. I mean, they didn't exactly throw the Galway game this year like they did last year. Let's just put it to you that way. I think Jimmy wants to win a national title this year of some kind before he gets to the Ulster Championship. So, look, it's in the Hyde, so it's obviously going to be, you would expect it to be a lot more difficult for Donegal, but I just think Donegal at the moment, with the football that they are playing and the players that they have at their disposal and the players that are really performing at the moment, I think, for example, Conor O'Donnell at the moment is playing absolutely out of his skin at the moment for Donegal, and I think he could have another big performance in him this weekend. And yeah, look, I think, look, Roscommon just simply need a response after the Dublin performance, because like you said, they went into that game probably as weirdly as, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, as favourites against them, which probably didn't suit them, to be honest with you, because they've always been the underdogs against teams like that. So maybe being back to being underdogs this weekend, it might calm the nerves a small bit to a degree. I'm not sure, but look, I think they'll put up a good fight against them. I think they could put up a good fight like they did against, obviously, Armagh. I know they won that game in the end, but I think Donegal are ahead of Armagh at the moment. So I think Donegal should win this game this weekend, and I think, does that confirm them a place in the league final if they win this weekend?
Donegal, yes.
Yeah. And I think that motivation will be extremely high for them. Like Roscommon at this stage, I don't think are getting relegated, and I don't think they're getting to a league final. So you'd wonder how much of the hunger will be there for them. I think Donegal should probably win this game, not comfortably or anything like that, but I think they should win it anyways. Like sort of like similarly how they bet down in the Ulster Championship last year, like not having to do a whole lot, but still getting a good outing. So I'd say Donegal probably by 6 points.
They still have an outside shot, just looking at the maths. If Mayo and Kerry draw, and Roscommon still have to play Mayo, don't they?
Yeah.
So if Roscommon win this game and Mayo and Kerry draw, then if Roscommon beat Mayo and Kerry don't win against Armagh, Roscommon can actually leapfrog into a league final. And a lot of things need to happen there, and I don't think that Mark Dowd would necessarily want to go all in for that to happen. But as Brennan says, to me, this game boils down to one simple thing. Does McGuinness make changes knowing they're already 1 foot in the final? I think Jim McGuinness, to be honest, and this is not even to glaze too much on Donegal, but their squad depth, Aaron, is to the level where they could make those changes and still put out a ridiculously strong starting 15. Their squad depth now is absolutely insane. I am going to go with Donegal to win this game. I know that Roscommon have, the ability to bounce back, but it's more that I think Donegal are too good. I'm going to go with Donegal to win this game by 4 points. Again, one of those controlled victories that doesn't set your heart racing, but they just get the job done efficiently. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree as well. I'll go with Donegal by 6. I think Roscommon will play better than they played in the game versus Dublin. I think they will give a bit more of a fight here, in my opinion. But I think Donegal, should be far too strong here. Look, they do have that safety net playing Monaghan on the final day, but look, Monaghan would love to spoil the party, I'm sure, a little bit, even if they are already relegated. And as you said, the depth of their team, like when you're able to bring in players like Conor McCahill and a few other kind of lads coming back into the team and everything else, like they're looking very, very good at the moment. And even with Oisin Gallen not starting the last day, Michael Murphy coming off the bench, like they're absolutely stacked. I think they'll be too strong here. I'll go with them by 6.
Gavin here with a very interesting comment. He said, we can go down if Armagh win against Dublin and make it tighter for Galway and Roscommon. I mean, that's a bonkers stat as well. It's something that we're not even looking at. Mikey here saying Roscommon 18 points, Donegal 121. Liam and Matthew. Liam, you went for a Donegal win, didn't you? Matthew, is it a clean sweep?
Yep, I think Donegal will win the game. And Gavin, great minds think alike. I was actually going to mention that as well. Roscommon still have to look over a shoulder, because if they lose their final 2 games and Dublin beat Galway beat Monaghan, and Armagh win their last 2 games, then Armagh, Galway, Dublin and Roscommon are all on 6 points. And it goes down to scoring difference. And Roscommon are the second worst in terms of scoring difference out of those 4. Galway are the worst at the moment. But as we'll get on to next, Galway are playing Monaghan, and Galway will most likely put the steamroller on them. So Roscommon have to be careful. I do think they have to be careful. I think they will lose this weekend, and comfortably enough. I think Donegal will win by 5 or 6. Look, Donegal have been absolutely exceptional, and the hardest part for Jim McGuinness is picking a starting 11 or starting 15 for the championship in terms of the Ulster Championship. When you look at the forwards there at their disposal, Conor O'Donnell had a brilliant year last year, but he seems to have stepped it up this year in terms of scores for play and scores overall. Michael Murphy's there, Oisin Gallen, Conor McCall. We're not even mentioning Shane Malone, who did very well at the start of the league campaign. Michael Langan's scoring very well, 5 2-pointers so far. So Donegal are in a very, very good position at the moment. And as I said about Jimmy, the difficult part for him is actually picking a starting team for the championship.
Yeah, no, certainly so. And then a lot of Kevin saying that's a good omen for Roscommon, clean Cúilín Media sweep for Donegal. I mean, that's the curse. If you want to lose, just get all the boys to pick you. But
I
we have a
predict
lot of questions coming in about Michael Murphy as well. Ryan saying, lads, could Donegal start putting out Murphy to get him ready for championship? And a great question from Brendan here saying, question, lads, on Donegal, is Michael Murphy taking a place on the panel from a younger player? Now, I'll take this question because I do think Donegal are going all in on winning this All-Ireland this year and winning it now. But I do think that when you do kind of hang on to like a glory crop or a glory period for a long time, I think when eventually that person goes, it can be extremely hard to fill that vacuum, as Dublin are seeing right now in the goalkeeping department, where Stephen Cluxton has finally left, and 1 minute it's Comerford, next minute it's David O'Hanlon, next minute it's Hugh O'Sullivan, and we can't really make up our mind who we want to go with, and that's just for one position. When you look at Dublin, you know, once that 6 in a row crop finally went away, a lot of the players that might have been 21, 22, 23 at the time didn't get a look in the team, didn't get a look in the squad. So now we have this weird situation where we have half the team at 28, 29 and up, and then the other half of the team at 22, 23, and there's very little in between. So I think that is part of it, but I think one player, Michael Murphy, I think you have to keep him there. And if Donegal are going to win the All-Ireland this year, they need Michael Murphy. Simple as, but a great question. Des saying Donegal are scoring more 2-pointers this year and they're pressing out much more than last year. And Gavin saying could make the counterpoint. Murphy is the reason Donegal didn't get to the final in 2024. I actually agree. I think if they had him against Galway, I think they would have got there. Pat saying Michael Murphy wouldn't be selected if he wasn't offering something. He's still one of the best forwards in Donegal. I completely agree with you, Pat. And that brings us on nicely to the final game. And Aaron, I'm going to throw this one to you first. Monaghan hosting Galway on Sunday at 3:45 p.m. in Inniskeen. Monaghan need to respond just for pride at this stage. I get it that they're already down, but 5 defeats out of 5 games, minus 55 score difference. There has to be a bite back here, lads. Like, I get that they're already, you know, up shit creek without a ladder, as to use a nice bit of terminology, but you need a response. You need to bite back. Galway at home, Aaron, is the perfect chance to do it.
Yeah, no, I think Galway will win it comfortably, to be honest with you. Like, you were expecting Monaghan to come good against Mayo. You're like, I know Mayo are brilliant and everything else, but you're expecting home advantage, right? Monaghan will make something out of this. And they didn't. They scored 7 points versus Kerry. Like, it all just seems. I know they've had a couple of injuries and a few kind of key players missing, and Rory Beggan's been in now. We haven't seen. I don't think any of Jack McCarron or Conor McCarthy. Maybe they've been in here or there, but we haven't really seen them.
We've seen McCarron, but we haven't seen McCarthy, I don't think.
Yeah, so like we haven't really seen too much of them, to be honest. So yeah, I don't think it's going well for Monaghan. I think for Galway as well. Look, Galway, you know, like you win this game, you take the pressure off yourself going into the final day against Dublin. Whereas you lose this game, then you're in big trouble, because with Dublin coming to town, like all of a sudden it's, you know, it's who knows what could happen in regards to that. So I think Galway will see this opportunity. They'll see this opportunity to win. Like I think Galway have had some impressive signs this year, considering they haven't had a lot of their best players playing. And the likes of Shane McGrath, McDonagh as well. Like they've been very, very impressive, Galway, in terms of some of their players. They've obviously had a few vulnerabilities in terms of defensively, and in particular their game management's been a bit all over the place as well. But yeah, I fancy Galway to win it fairly comfortably.
We've very good comments in here from Gavin saying Galway's insane to predict, but surely they can't F this up. I do think, look, there's surely a bite back in Monaghan. That's what my brain is saying, because I've never seen them go down this tamely. The one thing that you could guarantee about Monaghan was they always made a fight of it, and that usually they'd stay up. Usually they were like a cat with 9 lives in Division 1, and they relegated us one year when I predicted them to go down. And Jack McCarron, ironically, it was who got the winner that day. Mikey here with a great comment. He says Galway usually have a habit of playing to the level of their opponent. I do agree with that. We've seen them struggle against teams that you would expect them to beat. McCarthy out for the whole league. Killian Lavelle, Dylan Byrne out for a few weeks also. Big loss. I think Lavelle especially stands out as being a key loss. And even over the past 2 years, the players they've lost, Kieran Hughes, Conor McManus, these players are once in a generation players, especially Manzi, of course. You don't just replace them easy as day. But I am going to go with a Galway win. I do look at this situation and go, Galway are looking over their shoulder as well. They are not safe from relegation from any stretch of the imagination. And I think they will get over the line. I'm going to go Galway by 5 points. We have a question in about who Monaghan have in the Ulster Championship, as Ryan saying they have Cavan, and they have Cavan at home. The way that Cavan have been performing, it's difficult to know who wins that game. But only time will tell. So it's 2 votes for Galway to win this game. Liam, I'll go to you next.
Galway by 12.
Galway by 12. Matthew, what are you thinking?
I think Galway by 15 plus, to be honest with you, and the Staffy as well, and poor Monaghan fans here. They've the worst attack out of all 4 divisions, and they've the joint worst defence as well. It's been a horrendous campaign for Monaghan so far, and unfortunately for them, it's just going to get worse.
Those stats are fairly brutal. I can't lie. You can mean when it's on paper like that. I mean, going into this game, you do have to go with Galway, but it'll be one of those where if I'm Galway, I want to take the win and get out, because surely again it's only a matter of time before Monaghan wake up and put in a decent performance and then give you a decent game. But anyway, so just to recap, if you joined us late, we went for a clean sweep in 3 out of the 4 games. Wins for Donegal, Armagh, and Galway we predicted, but we were split on the Mayo Kerry game. 2 of us went for Mayo and 2 of us went for Kerry. And now we're going to move on to Division 2, Round 6. After I read this comment, Killian saying Monaghan will get closer than many think. Let's not forget Galway have been poor defensively themselves. Galway by 5 or 6 points still. All right, we're going to move on to Division 2's Round 6. And Matthew, I'm going to throw this game to you. It's not the Cork game, but you could argue it's almost more important to Cork. Meath versus Tyrone, Saturday at 5 p.m. in Croke Park. What are you thinking about this one?
Jeez, I'm full of hope. I'm full of hope here. For once, I would say in the last few years, I'm actually up for Tyrone in this one. That's nothing against Meath, obviously. That's not. I do like Meath. I like Davy Rispel. I like everything about Meath. But for Cork to go up, we need Tyrone to win. It's as simple as that. And I'm hanging my hat on. I'm hoping this is the game Tyrone would start to click. Hopefully, I'm just hoping it happens. And I'm thinking it has to happen sometime. With Tyrone having the quality players that they do have, with Armagh down the tracks in the Ulster Championship, something has to click sooner rather than later. And what a time for them to click in Croke Park against the Meath team that have done well themselves this year as well. And as well as that, there is still question marks about Meath in terms of a promotion race. Remember last year against Louth, they had that big game and they ended up losing that game in the scheme. That was a big loss for them to take. And if they won that game, they would have gone up to Division 1. So there is still that question mark about Meath. They have played well so far in the league so far. But there might be a question about their bottle and things like that. And the fact, I think, I've seen there Rory Brennan apparently is out of the panel now. I think Derek Hannivan's moved down to Oz as well. So it will be difficult for them. But you would think the likes of Owen McElhone, the likes of Rory McCullough, if they play, they could announce themselves in Croke Park. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping Tyrone pull it out of the bag and pull the rabbit out of the hat here and get the win. And I think, look, they have to click it sometime, and it could be this weekend. I think Tyrone might just edge this by about 2 points.
Liam, what are you thinking?
See, I wasn't impressed with Tyrone, well, this season really, but even watching them against us, I didn't think they were great, to be honest with you. I've been a bit more impressed with Meath this season, but having said that, Meath have also nearly thrown away a few games this year. I'm tempted to say a draw.
Go on, do it if you want.
No, I can't. Meath by 1. Sorry, Matthew.
I'm going to agree with you. I still think Meath are going to win. And I predicted, just for the record, I predicted Tyrone to top the division. I'm a big fan of the talent that Tyrone have, but I haven't been impressed by how they've been playing in the league so far. And I don't see them just clicking their fingers and turning it on in this game, especially without the players that they're going to be missing. So I'm going for Meath by 4. Aaron, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Meath as well to come through. I think in these type of games so far this year, when Meath have been in these battles, they've come through them. They came through Derry, obviously, in Croke Park earlier in the year, they've had a couple of late wins, obviously, with 2-pointers and everything else. I do agree with Matthew's point ever so slightly as well. Like, Tyrone are one of them teams, especially with the talent and the players that they have. You feel like it could click, and especially going up against a Meath team where there has been a lot of hype around them, and Tyrone getting written off how many times in Croke Park. We saw the story before, do you know what I mean, where Tyrone could just turn it on and, you know, put in an unbelievable performance to kind of shake up the division. But I am going to back Meath. I think they have shown more. They've more of a settled team at this moment in time. So I am going to go with them narrowly by a point.
Killian with a mad comment here says Dara Canavan still in Ireland due to, that thing. So could be around for the next few games. I mean, if you're talking about mad situations that keep you in Ireland, I mean, that's got to be top of the bill. Ryan's saying Meath 21 points, Tyrone 117. Yeah, typical Meath lads, going for Meath to beat Tyrone in this game. Just in case you're a little bit confused, someone commented on one of our TikToks saying that we were Meath lads predicting Meath to get promoted, and not one of us is from Meath. So very interesting. But we're going to move on now to the next game. And Matthew, I'm going to go back to you for this, because regardless of whatever happens in the Meath Tyrone game, you still have a job to do against Kildare, Saturday at 5 p.m. in Park Erin, that should say. What are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, to be fair, looking at the games on in Park Erin, we've performed probably better than Kildare this league campaign. As well as that, the players have had training camp over in Portugal. I think it's come at the exact right time, to be fair. Obviously, after the defeat to Derry, I think it has refreshed the players in many ways as well. I think with Kildare losing 3 games in a row, and obviously there is a want with Kildare. They'd want to win this game. I do think it'll be tougher than people make it out to be. Look, Kildare are fighting for their survival. They have Sam Maguire cemented, obviously, because of their Tailteann Cup win last year, but they won't want to go down to Division 3. And despite the fact, I know Peter's very negative about Kildare, and there's a few, I think, the really unofficial Kildare page is very negative about Kildare football at this present moment in time. They probably didn't perform well against Meath. But again, like Tyrone against Meath, there has to be a kick in Kildare, surely. Do I think it's going to be in Parky Rain, a long trip down? The pitch probably suits Cork if the Cork fans get behind them as well. I'm hearing the Red Patrollers off Red FM are actually going to this game. I think that's the first time that's ever happened over the last few years. So there is a bit of a hype coming around the Cork football team. Not as high as the Hurlers, obviously, but that is good to see. I do think Cork will get over the line, despite the fact that I think Mark Cronin is 50-50 according to John Cleary. That's a massive loss. Tommy Walsh and Ian Maguire particularly back for this game is massive. And I think with those players back, I think Cork should get over the line in the end. Obviously, they do have a job to do, that goes without saying. And hopefully we will keep our promotion dreams up until the final day. We will be looking at results elsewhere. We'll have the phones out in Parky Rin, but I do think we'll do our job. We'll put our end of the bargain up, and I do think we'll get over the line this weekend.
With the comment of the pod, Gavin saying Trump cost Meath promotion. We'll see how it goes. We have a few comments in about this game. Grandma Muldown saying rooting for Kildare, although they haven't. Hope Meath ripped Kildare apart when they were at home. Peter saying Cork have been in much better form and got results. Would love to see us battle back, but we won't beat Cork in the Rin. Cork by 6-8. And Gavin saying down in Division 3 fans probably rooting for Kildare for that Sam Maguire spot. We have a question directly for you then, Matthew, from Brendan. He says, question for Matthew on last week against Derry. Was it a one-off down to certain players being missing, or is there something more to the Derry performance? I think it's something that we'll find out this weekend anyway.
It is, and to be fair, you had the journey, you had players being injured as well, you had the 3 games on the bounce. Obviously, you had, like, any game is difficult in Division 2 at any given point. And in that 3-week block, we 2 away games to Offaly and Derry. And that trip to Derry in the 3rd week in a row, that was going to take a toll on the players. And I don't think we managed the game properly in the first half. Look, they will learn from that. I think the Portugal... John Cleary would kill me for saying this comment on the podcast now, calling it a holiday. It wasn't a holiday, it was a training camp over in Portugal. I think that has refreshed the players in many ways. Look, it has done over the last few years. Cork at the training camp last year and won the last 2 games against Low and Cavan. They did so the year before. They drew against Armagh and beat Meath. The the training camp does help the players in many ways as well, and they will be refreshed, they'll be ready to go for this game as well, and the fans will get behind Cork and Parky Rin as well to get over the line. Look, I think Derry as well, you have to point towards Cork performed badly that day, but Derry are just a machine at this present moment in time. They are performing very, very well, and the story probably has to be about them as well. But a lot of answers will be this weekend, but we will see how it all reacts. But I think we will do enough to get over to Kildare game as well. I'm hoping, and I think it was a once-off 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm going for Cork to win this game as well, lads. Any disagreements before we move on?
No.
Okay, clean sweep it is. Now, again, Matthew, you were talking about keeping one eye on the clash between Meath and Tyrone and Croke Park, but this one could be a potential curveball as well, because Derry have to go away to RD, notoriously a difficult place to go. Louth could spring the trap on Derry here. If Louth win this game and Meath and Cork both do their bit, Derry slip out of the promotion places. So, Aaron, could it happen?
It is possible, yeah. And Louth definitely aren't out of the mix. I did see though, like there was a comment, like someone sent me a message earlier saying that there's going to be no Kieran Downey, no Ryan Burns for this game as well. Apparently Louth are rotating their team a little bit, so that maybe could favour towards Derry a little bit, with the fact that Louth aren't going to get relegated. It must be said. I know it's not confirmed and everything else, and obviously they do play Kildare actually on the final day, so they could potentially be looking over their shoulders depending on other results. But I think with the form of Derry, like as Matthew said there, like it was an incredible win for Derry. Like Cork have proven themselves as a very good team so far this year. So to beat them by 20 points, even the numbers they put up against Offaly as well were absolutely outstanding. And I've said before, it's been, the likes of Niall Loughlin, Paul Cassidy, these lads who kind of come back to the fore, kind of playing their best football. That maybe wasn't the case in previous seasons. So yeah, I think Derry will be too strong. I know Louth's home advantage in RD as well is a very, very tough place to go, and we obviously saw with Tyrone when they went there when they got beat, and Louth are in very good form. So I do think it'll be close, but I think Derry overall in the form that they're in, I think should have enough.
I agree. I think Derry will get out by the skin of their teeth, lads. Any disagreements?
Derry by 7.
Okay. We're going to move on then to the final game, and Liam, I'm going to throw this one over to you. Division 2 Round 6, Offaly hosting Cavan, Sunday at 2 p.m. in O'Connor Park. Going into this game, this is the two sides that are in the relegation positions, but you have home advantage in this game. You win this game, you go above them based off the head-to-head into second bottom. And who knows, Kildare then are within grasp. So survival is still on the cards for Offaly, but you have to win this one.
Yeah, simple as. A draw or a defeat is simply no good. It's win at all costs. It's do or die basically this weekend. And look, it's great that we have 2 home games to finish it off. And look, if Meath had, I was nearly thinking if Meath had promotion possibly secured, then it could have been a bit of an easier final home game for us. But that's not the case at the moment. And look, Cavan, whilst I mentioned them earlier, not playing unbelievable over the last while, they still have picked up more wins than us. Like they still picked up a good win against Kildare, whereas we were very much off the pace against Kildare. Now, there was an improvement in performance against Tyrone. I will admit that some players did step up that day, and they gave as good as they could give, to be honest with you. And look, I'll always say when you have Keith O'Neill in your team, I'll always have a small bit of hope. Harry Plunkett's playing well at the moment, and look, I'm hoping and I'm praying that there's at least 1 or 2 players back this weekend, because like the injuries that we've been hit with, not just in the football, but in the hurling as well, as a county in general, has been, I mean, it would raise a lot of questions, to be honest with you, but I won't go into that now. But I'm just hoping that we can get just even a win. Like, even if we do go down, I just want us to see us go down, fight, and then, pick up even a win before we play Laois in the championship in a couple of weeks. But look, when you've all, I mean, there's no point saying which Brady, because there's too many Bradys in Cavan, but when there's Bradys, there you've Paddy Lynch, you have McKiernan, like it's, granted, they're all fit and they're all playing, then they're going to be a very, very tough team to stop. But do you know what? I'm going to be delusional and I'm going to back Offaly to finally win a game, because I don't think I've actually backed them to win a game this season, bar maybe I predict them to beat Louth. I can't remember at this stage. But I'm going to say we nick it by a point, and I'm going to predict a last-minute 2-pointer by Keith O'Neill to save the day, and we'll have a pitch invasion and everyone will be happy, and then we might get relegated the following week. But I'm going to predict we get 1 final win. But yeah, look, I agree if McKiernan and Lynch could be brought out again, but that's the problem. The two of them. Taking the two of them out of the game. Taking one out of the game, sure. Taking two of them, just no. I don't think it's possible. So, look, it's like I said that when we played even Cork a couple of weeks ago. I said, like, if you can take the two main players for me were Mark Cronin and Stephen Sherlock. You might be able to take one of them, but by God, you can't take two of them. And it was proven that day. Like, you were there, Matthew. Sherlock didn't have to do a lot in that first half, whereas Mark Cronin just did whatever he wanted. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to predict us to win by a point, but I think that's more my heart talking than anything else. But do you know what? If you don't have faith, I don't know what you have. So
I'm going to agree with you. I think Offaly are going to win, and that's in no small part due to the fact that I predict Offaly to finish 6th. So if you win this game and then win next week and Kildare lose, you actually jump to 6th. So I'm going to roll the dice and hope that comes true. Lads, what are you thinking for this? Anyone want to spoil the mood?
I'm not anyway. No, I'm going to go for Offaly as well. I fit. I'm going to say Offaly win this game. Number one, because Liam is sound. Number two, I like Keith O'Neill as a player. Obviously, Keith O'Neill is a brilliant player, kicking 2-pointers. He's been one of the top scorers in Division 2, and I think he could be the difference maker on Sunday. I actually have a few reasons. Number 3, Dermot McCabe. I've still questioned Cavan over their game mentality and game management in many ways. And Offaly might take advantage of that. And number 4, I want Offaly to win, because if they have something to play for against Meath on the final day, they could beat Meath. And I'd love that.
Aaron, what are you going to do? Are you gonna spoil it? Go on.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I did make a video on my own channel yesterday saying Cavan would win. So I mean,
I already saw the video.
Yeah, it would be very silly within a day if I just changed. You know what I mean? So no. Look, and to be fair, I do actually think Cavan will win. I am sorry.
Bit smooth talking from the lads, not changing mind, no.
I do see the points. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if Offaly did go and do it, but I do still think that I agree with what Gavin was saying there. Like, there has to be a kick out of Cavan. There has to be a response out of them. And I think if they lose this game, then I would have serious worries about Cavan football moving forward in terms of where the direction of Cavan football. So yeah, I do think they'll win it, but I do think it'll be very close.
Mikey's absolutely going for it. 426 to 113. He's going for it, and then Cameron's saying, "Need John on this pod." We actually still get John on.
Do you know what? This will be the one Offaly game I won't be at, and they'll win.
We're going to move on though, lads. Now it's time for quick picks. It's now time for take your pick. So we're going to move on to the most bonkers division out of the lot in terms of what could happen over the next 2 games, in the next 2 rounds. Division 3's round 6. Clare will host Wexford Sunday at 1 p.m. in Port Keysog. Sligo will host Down Sunday at 2 p.m. in Markievicz Park. Westmeath will host Limerick Sunday at 2 p.m. in Cusack Park. And Fermanagh will host Laois Saturday at 6 p.m. in Brewster Park. The situation in the division is this. Down are on top with 5 wins out of 5. That's 10 points. Fermanagh are at the bottom with 5 defeats out of 5 on 0 points. In between that, there is only 3 points separating Wexford in 2nd and Limerick in 7th. There is so much that could change in this division over the next 2 rounds. But starting off in terms of the quick picks, I'll lead from the front, something unusual this time. I'm going to go with Clare to beat Wexford at home in Port Keysog. I'm going to go with Down to continue their 100% record and beat Sligo in Markievicz Park. Westmeath, I'm going to go for them to beat Limerick on Sunday at 2 p.m. in Cusack Park. And I'm going to go with Laois to beat Fermanagh, even though that one is in Brewster Park. Any disagreements, lads, with my picks?
Yep.
Matthew, take it away.
I think Fermanagh will beat Laois. If there's going to be a win for Fermanagh, I think it's this game at home. I think Sligo will actually beat Down. They're at home. Markievicz Park is a fortress for Sligo, and Down only need 1 more point to get promoted. Will the want be there for Down? I'm not sure, so I'm going to go for Sligo to win. I'm
going to go for Fermanagh to beat Laois. Go for it.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, I think Wexford will beat Clare, and I think I agree in Westmeath beating Limerick.
Liam, what are you saying?
I'm actually agreeing with every one of them that you said, Seamus. So
we love to see it. We love to see it. Peter also said it literally verbatim. Porter saying Fermanagh need to go down fighting like the second half the last day, and Gavin saying Sligo, Westmeath, Wexford, and Fermanagh. And that will certainly be a really, really interesting shake-up for the division then going into the last day, especially if Fermanagh reinsert them into the potential survival stakes. Dublin is great saying Wexford down, Westmeath, Laois, and Beast saying Clare, Wexford, Westmeath, Limerick draw. So yeah, we're going to move on now to Division 4, Round 6 again. Plenty of permutations in this division. We have Wicklow hosting Tipperary Sunday at 2 p.m. in Auckram, Leitrim hosting Longford Sunday at 2 p.m. in Park Sean McDermott, Waterford hosting Antrim Sunday at 1 p.m. in Fairfield, and Carlow hosting London Saturday at 6 p.m. in Cullen Park. Again, I don't mind leading from the front, lads. I'll take it away. So I'm going to go with Wicklow to beat Tipperary in Auckram. I'm going to go with Longford to beat Leitrim in Park Sean McDermott, Antrim to beat Waterford and Fairfield, and Carlow to beat London in Cullen Park. Any disagreements at all?
I'm going to say Carlow, Antrim, Tipperary, and Longford.
Tipperary to beat Wicklow?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, I just have faith in Tipperary more than any of Munster County with the way they're playing at the moment. Daithí Hogan, obviously Sean O'Connor, Keane Smith. Like, they have some very good players, Tipperary, Stephen O'Brien. And I think Wicklow have been a bit inconsistent in this league campaign. I think Tip might nick it.
Okay. Well, who do we fancy to go up then? If we're all saying Carlow win this game, then Carlow are up. Longford are on 7 points, Tipperary on 6, Wicklow are on 6 as well. So if Tipperary win this game, Wicklow's promotion hopes are dead. Pretty much. Do you think Tipperary will go up with Carlow?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I like Tipperary.
Liam, what do you think in the two to go up? I'm going to go Carlow and Longford to go up.
I'm going to go Carlow and Tip as well. I think Tip, especially with the performances lately, will be taking a lot of confidence. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of a resurgence in Tipperary football at the moment. And I'm all for it because I enjoyed the Tipperary teams in the late 2010s and early 20, obviously the Munster win in 2020. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Carlow and Tipperary to get promoted.
Absolutely. Well, we've managed to make it to the end of the football, Liam. Could I just grab one more from you? Of course, the LGFA refix fixture, just because it is your home county, Offaly hosting Longford. Division 4, Round 5 refix of the LGFA Division 4. Obviously, going into this game, it was supposed to be played earlier, and the division has to have it this weekend to move on into the semi-finals afterwards. If you win this game, you're in those semi-finals. Against a local rival, do you think you have it?
Yeah, it's El Clasico this weekend, as I think somebody put it in the comments, or maybe that was about a different game, I don't know. But yeah, look, I think I think that performance and the win over Derry was badly needed, to be honest with you, and particularly scoring 3-14 at home and only conceding 1-8. I think just the team needed, Gavin Doyle needed his team to really perform, do you know what I mean, and really put out a real statement of a victory. I think if Sarah Doyle in particular, because she's been absolutely outstanding throughout the entirety of the league campaign, I think if she can perform to her absolute best this weekend, then I see absolutely no reason why we can't go and win this game. And I think getting ourselves a spot in that semi-final is absolutely crucial, because after what was a torrentious 2025, Offaly ladies football needs a good 2026. So yeah, I'm going to back the girls to win this weekend and hopefully have a bit of success with Offaly this weekend anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with you at all, and don't think the other lads. I don't disagree with you, sorry. And I don't think the other two lads disagree with you at all either. And you've managed to make it to the end of the football. We know you have to jump off, but we appreciate you jumping on with us for this episode. All right, till the next one, man.
Mind yourselves.
All right. So we're going to crack on now. The three of us, we're going to move ahead, switching codes from the football to the hurling. Obviously, the Waterford Tipperary game had to be postponed last weekend due to the tragic passing of Benny Kiley, father, of course, of Michael Kiley. And of course, from all of us at the pod, we wish him all rest in peace. Yesterday, we have an anam dílis and commiserations to anyone affected by that tragic passing. But the game has been refixed for this weekend. Waterford hosting Tipperary in Walsh Park. It's on Sunday at 2 p.m. I believe this game is live on the TG Car app, but I could be wrong. But Matthew, as a Munster man, I'll go to you first. What are you expecting from this one? Two local rivals to the Rebel County. Will you be watching this one with interest?
Probably not, because I don't think Tip will put out a strong team in this one. I think Waterford badly need to win. I said on last week's pod when we thought the game was going to go ahead that Waterford will win it. And I'm going to back my prediction right now. I think Waterford will win it because if they lose to this weekend, then they are relegated for Division 1A. And the want again would be there from a Waterford point of view, and I think they will get over the line this one. Obviously, if Ruben Halloran plays, if Sean Walsh plays, I think they will be probably strong enough for Tipperary, considering Tipperary probably aren't playing for much. They probably aren't going to get to a league final. They'll be focusing all their eggs in the basket for the game in the Munster Championship first off, which is coincidentally against Cork in Temple Stadium, which will be a belter of a game. I think Tipperary will be focusing all their focuses on that game, and Waterford need to survive. So I think Waterford will get over the line this weekend.
It's very, very interesting. Looking at it coming into it the previous week, I think I predicted Waterford to win as well. I think Tipperary have been looking over their shoulder slightly somewhat at relegation kind of throughout the whole league. Is there something in that? Because when we were talking about, obviously, Clare won the All-Ireland, then they went down. Tipperary win the All-Ireland. There are a couple of bad results from going down as well. Is there something in that? Is there a bit of a pattern, or is it just coincidence?
Just a coincidence, to be honest. I think Tip are still going to be strong no matter what in the championship. They still have proven to have some decent players and decent performances in this league campaign so far. Awfully, you can't really read too much into that, but they beat Galway, who were very, very impressive that night in Thurles. Against Cork, obviously there was the shenanigans that happened near half time. That Tip played well up until that point. Obviously, the Limerick game, Liam Cahill will be very disappointed in how Tip kind of folded in that one. And look, 2 losses, they probably won't get to a league final now. I think, in general, though, I do think they'll beat Kilkenny in the league anyway on the last game to probably relegate Kilkenny. Obviously, there'll be more of a want in terms of rivalry to put down to get Kilkenny relegated rather than Waterford as well. So that might be an element this weekend too, and why I'm picking Waterford to win this game. Look, I don't think it'll improve anything. They are a very good team. No matter what happens, they will put their eggs in the basket for the Cork game. Tipperary wouldn't have targeted the league, especially after winning the All-Irelands. Mm-hmm. Nothing to prove, I think. Look, they'll write the league off, okay. Bad performance against Limerick. We'll just go into the Munster Championship now and dust ourselves off for that particular game. So, as I said, I don't think Tip will do that much this weekend, whereas Waterford would really need to win.
I think it's kind of shown as well that Clare haven't missed a step since they went down. They've won all their games. They probably will win their last game, and you'd back them in the final, even though I think it could be likely that we meet them in the final. You would make Clare favourites for that one as we stand right now. Peter obviously mentioned as well, Kilkenny 1 foot through the trapdoor. Aaron is back with us now. Aaron, what are you thinking for this one? Waterford against Tipperary last weekend. I can't remember. Remind me, did you go for Waterford or did you go for Tip initially? And has your mind changed at all since?
I went for Waterford to win the game, and I wouldn't change the opinion. I think with Walsh Park at home, the home advantage, I think Waterford would be too strong. I'll go with them.
I think Porter mentioning as well here. I think maybe after what happened with Limerick, Tip will go all out. I think that's another thing to take into mind, that they've had the opportunity to watch what happened in the other 2 games in Division 1, assess how that changes the division. Kilkenny now are right on the brink. Waterford know that if they can get the job done here, push themselves a little bit further up, they might be safe. But Tipperary also know that as well. So this game has taken on extra importance. I'm going to go for Waterford to win. I think home advantage. I think they will go all out. They need a bite back, and I think they will get it. Peter here saying, remember, Tipperary have never had a good season after winning the All-Ireland. But again, maybe like Kerry trying to chase down the back-to-back under Jack O'Connor, maybe Tip are out to set that right. And again, very interesting game taking place for Waterford this Saturday, 3 p.m. We're switching over to the Camogie now. That was the only hurling action that we had this weekend, but we're moving across to Camogie next. We have Waterford taking place against Kilkenny Saturday at 3 p.m. in Walsh Park. Waterford looking to keep their 100% record going. When you see the form of the likes of Niamh Rockett, the likes of Lorraine Bray. But interestingly, we'll see if the GA plus the View curse, if it extends to players, because obviously we're talking about Robbie Brennan went on when Meath had a 100% record and then they lost. The Carlow manager went on when Carlow had a 100% record in Division 4, and then they lost. Niamh Rockett went on to the View, of course, and she was outstanding on the View. But she went on to the View and was asked about Waterford's perfect start to the Camogie League campaign. Matthew, hosting Kilkenny in Walsh Park, could that record now come to an end, and will the curse continue?
I don't think it will. I think Waterford will win this game at the weekend simply because of how well Niamh is playing at this present moment of time. So is Beth Carton, so is Lorraine Bray. Leisha Forrest has been absolutely superb for Waterford in this league campaign as well. And obviously for Kilkenny, that was a damaging defeat to take to Cork last weekend. 9-point defeat to a Cork team that hadn't hit their stride at all in the league so far. So yeah, I think Waterford will get over the line as long as they keep tabs on Asha McCarthy, who's the top scorer for playing the Camogie League in Division 1A so far. I think this should be fine and go on to win that game. Obviously, for Prendergast needs to be watched as well. And yeah, I think Waterford will win the game in the end. Beth Carton scored a lot for play herself. But what I will say on Niamh being on the View, absolutely deserved. She was on my podcast, say, a couple of years ago talking about the Camogie final. And for a player that was still playing, I was like, in my head, like, you know when you're talking to someone, you think that person is definitely going to become a pundit in the future. Yeah. And here I was thinking that about Niamh. She reads the game so well. I think her analysis is spot on. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And she was actually on the RTE coverage for the Camogie finals last year. She was a co-commentary for the intermediate final, and she was there with Aoife Sheehan for the highlight show on the Sunday game as well. Absolutely deserved. I think she's a fantastic analyst. Obviously, she's an equally as fantastic player at this present moment in time. I'm sure Waterford don't want to let her go at any stage in the future, but when eventually she hangs up the boots, I think absolutely she's going to go into the pundit report. I think she's going to take by storm, to be honest with you.
Oh, she's a shoe, and she already has. Like, she's already the premier Camogie pundit, in my opinion. Up there with the likes of Ursula Jacob, Anna Geary, that like someone who's been there, done it, and is still doing it right now. And when you're talking about the way the punditry is moving, it's moving towards players that have been, like, you're looking at the success that Seamus Flanagan is having on the hurling side. He's so interesting to listen to, talking about John Kiley and the Limerick team, because like he's literally in there a few months ago. But yeah, I think she's absolutely fantastic, and I don't think she'll go anytime soon because of the form that she's in. Like, she's absolutely playing out of her skin. But yeah, I'm going to go for Waterford to win this, make it 4 out of 4. And you mentioned as well about the victory that Cork had last week. Aaron, Cork hosting Tipperary this weekend, Saturday at 1 p.m. at Porky Inn. I think from a Tipperary perspective, they're getting Cork kind of at the worst time that you could have got them, because now the pennies dropped, they've woke up, they've got their win. This fixture looked a lot less daunting a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it was a big win for Cork versus Kilkenny the last day. Kind of turning the corner after a bit of a difficult start, obviously, against with the defeat to Antrim and everything else. So yeah, I think with the home advantage, they should be too strong. In my opinion, like Tipperary have obviously been a bit hit and miss in terms of the season so far. But I think Cork with that home advantage, I would go with them for the win.
I'm going to go with Cork as well. Matthew, is it a clean sweep?
Yeah, I think Cork will get over the line as well. They started to gain a bit of confidence. Obviously, the Bars girls are back in Saoirse McCartan and Orla Callahan and the team. I think potentially Ashley Egan, she was selected for in the club team of the year as well. I think she could definitely come in place of like Pamela Mackey in the back line. I think she is an ideal replacement. Obviously, it took time for the younger players to come in and stamp their authority on the team. But yeah, I think Cork will get over the line considering that win over Kilkenny last weekend. There's just one more point in this, Seamus. You know that the venue there, Parky Rin, and you know that the day, Saturday, it's on at 1 p.m. The Cork Kildare football game is on at 5. You can't write this. You seriously can't. Like, it's just, I mean,
split organization bullshit. The sooner we get these organizations integrated, the better. Like, what's going on between 1 and 5?
Oh, jeez. I don't know. Honestly, lads, is it gate receipts? Because, like,
yeah, well, hold on, but that doesn't even make sense, because, like, would you not, like, so if you went in to watch the Camogie, would you have to pay back in to watch the football?
It's 2 separate games, as far as I believe. It's not a double header because the games are obviously too far apart in times. So I'd say the Camogie game starts at 1, and then the fans of the Camogie game will be ushered out as much as the stewards can, I guess. And then there'll be a separate kind of gate receipt for the football game then.
Oh my God.
That's mad. Would it, could you go to the Camogie game, pay less, just stay there, hide in the toilet or something? Do you know what I mean?
You wouldn't need to hide. Like volunteers aren't going to rugby tackle you out of the stadium.
I haven't been in the new Parky Queeve, but apparently there's a bar in there as well.
Parky in.
Parky. Oh yeah, sorry, Parky Rin. Yeah, never mind.
Peter said, "Who let Dougal do the fixtures?" I can't. Like personally, they have to get these organizations integrated. They just have to, because this type of stuff will stop when that happens. But until then, when they're different organizations, they have absolutely no incentive to work with each other. It's the same thing that we saw with the LGFA and the Camogie associations, the way that, you know, players that are dual players like Hannah Looney and Libby Coppinger over the last years have had a Camogie game on the Saturday and a football game on the Saturday, or back-to-back days, and no communication with each other in terms of the fixtures and games and everything like that. The sooner we're all one organization pulling in the same direction, the better for everybody. And the sooner it comes, the better. We're going to move on then to the final game, and I'll take this one. Antrim against Galway, Saturday at 2 p.m. in Cushendun. Antrim need a response, there's no question about it, losing the way that they did to Waterford the previous week after going away to Cork the week before that and beating them. They've had a real up and down league campaign. But again, I think similar to how I mentioned about how Cork beating Kilkenny was like a bad moment for Tipperary to play them, because like now the pennies dropped and they've got their win and their streak is up. Same thing with Galway. They got their win the previous week against Tipperary. Their eyes in now. They're on the board. Going away to Antrim, I can see only one thing, and that's a Galway victory. They're back to their best. Players like Harry Dolan getting on the score sheet the previous day out. Their eyes back in. Any disagreements at all? Anyone going for Antrim?
No.
Okay, we'll move on then to quick picks time to wrap up the Camogie predictions and then wrap up the weekend preview. So starting off, National Camogie League Division 1B Round 4, we have, of course, Limerick hosting Wexford and Cappamore, Clare hosting Down in Biomet Cusick Park, and Dublin hosting Offaly in Abbottstown Pitch 1. And do you know what? I'm going to throw in the Division 3A Round 4 game, because there's only one. Roscommon hosting Kildare and Ballyfour on Saturday at 2 p.m. I'm going to go with Wexford as a surprise pick to beat Limerick. I'm going to go with Clare to beat Down and Dublin to beat Offaly. And then I'm going to go with Kildare to beat Roscommon in 3A Round 4. Any disagreements, lads?
Yeah, I'd probably go for Clare, Dublin and Limerick to win in Division 1B. I actually back Kildare to beat Roscommon as well in Division 3.
Absolutely. Aaron, any disagreements?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with Matthew there. Yeah, I'd go with Limerick to beat Wexford.
Absolutely. And then a big shout as well to anyone watching as well, because the All-Ireland Under-20 Championships are kicking off this week. And just before we wrap up, lads, is there any player in particular that you're expecting big things from in the Under-20 Championship this season? Any superstars on the horizon?
Yeah, I would have said Dara Sheedy, but I don't know, is he actually allowed to play in the Under-20 Championship?
Same thing with Dara Byrne, actually.
Yeah.
Like, will he be allowed to play?
That's the thing. I don't know has the rule been fixed for that, but yeah, obviously that's for another day's discussion. I'm looking at the minor championship last year, and in terms of who did well in that competition, and I'm looking at probably, if he does play now, he might be too young, but possibly Peter Colton of Tyrone.
Yeah, very good.
He's a really fantastic player. Could definitely set the world alight there. Likewise, I suppose with Kerry, the likes of, I don't know, is Paddy Lane still underage as well, would be a decent player for them. So yeah, I think those two players in particular in the under-20s.
Okay, very good. Peter saying it here, lads. Super preview. Thanks a mil. Enjoy the games. Have a great weekend. See you Sunday night at 8 p.m. You couldn't have said it better, Peter. That is the end of another weekend preview show. We previewed all the action from round 6 of the National Football Leagues, all the action from round 4 of the National Camogie Leagues, as well as the action that is taking place in the National Hurling Leagues and National LGFA Leagues. Thanks very much to everybody that tuned in. We've comments flying in here since we're back on Sunday at 8 o'clock. Thanks a million for everybody that got involved in the live chat. You helped to make the episode another super enjoyable one. Enjoy the games this weekend and join us live Sunday at 8 p.m. Until then, ta-ra.
Instinct, baby. Follow your instinct.